Hi guys, this is my 1995 Porsche Carrera. It's just a C2 is what they call it. So today I'm going to do a repair on two things. The door hinge, I'm going to replace the door hinge, or the door stop is another name for it, and the gaskets around the handle. So I'll show you what I'm going to do. There's another good video on how to remove the door panel or card. So once you get that off, I'm going to show you kind of how to delve into these other areas. So let me show you the repairs. I'll show you some of the tools that I've used, and then we'll get in and we'll get started. So come over here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to replace these gaskets. This side's not as bad. There's a little bit of cracking in them. So we're going to get in here, take the handle off, and replace those. And then if you watch the door, you notice that it just kind of opens up all the way. Like there's not a lot of resistance. This one has a little bit. The driver's side was a lot worse. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace the door stop, which is this piece right here. So the tricky part is getting this pin out, and then we're going to get back in behind the door here, and we're going to show you how to remove this so that when you open the door, it will stop at certain points. It won't just swing open wildly and hit the car next to you. Let me show you some of the tools that you likely will need to make the repair. So first off, some place to put your bolts. Okay, a couple Phillips screwdrivers. I found one with a smaller tip that does come in handy on two of the screws. Here's a 5mm hex screw. A couple of the gaskets for the back part of the handle, the front part of the handle. And again, this part was a little tricky, so I'm going to show you that. This was the secret to the whole thing. So I have these ratchet extensions that I put a couple together. If you're interested in the part number for the 993, here is the manufacturer part number. I got these from Pelican Parts, not terribly expensive. So this is the back handle where the lock is at, and here's the part number for the front component. A hammer to use with this, 8mm. I found that a socket was helpful, as well as just a normal wrench. Tape, I always use blue tape to make sure that I don't tear up my paint. And then here's my replacement hinge piece, still in the plastic. Once I get the door panel off, I'll show you guys the next steps. All right, so one additional tool we're going to need that I didn't mention at the beginning is 10mm. A socket is fine. I want to show you the piece we're going to put in. So when we replace it, notice that it kind of arches in, not out. So just pay attention to that detail. But basically, there's two screws in here, and part of the door goes in between the screw, and it'll bolt into this. So that's why we actually have to get it into it from the inside of the door. But I'm going to pop this pin real quick. As you can see, I've taped up around it. I also have this little plastic tool that I'm going to put in. For me, it's all about just protecting the body and the paint. And also putting some rags down here is probably a good idea. All right, what I realized is there's a little pin right here. Just grab it with a pair of pliers. You pull this out. Okay. Hold that again. Okay. And there's your pin. It's got these little teeth, and there's a little groove where that piece was in. So, all right, so that's the first step. Now I'm just going to reach in here through this hole in this somewhat of a barrier. And I'm going to all right, there's a second screw, and then you pull it out through the door, and I'll show you. See how loose this is? It's just sloppy. It's supposed to work more like this. Nothing, cannot move it with my hands. So some guys One of my friends said that he's actually going to open this up. He's going to open these tabs here, and he's doing the same repair, and he's going to trim off the top of these black gaskets in there to kind of create a little less pressure. I'm not going to go through that effort. So I'm going to reinstall it, and then what I'm going to do is make sure that I put some grease on here. I've got some coming tomorrow, so I'll grease those up. But basically, I'm just going to put this back in. We're gonna reinstall this, and we're just gonna. I'll show you how to pop the pin back in from the top too. That can be a little tricky. So, all right, here we go. I'm gonna, again, out of precaution, I'm gonna put some rags behind. Oh, it's making that sound because it's loose here. Let me tighten these up. And now I'm just taking the pin, and I probably can do it with my hands. And we just kind of clipped it back in under. Where we're headed next is the handle, and we'll be right back with walk you through the kind of the next steps. All right, so the next section, you're just gonna take this barrier, and you have to peel it back. So you have to gain access to this area here. We're looking to get off this little 8mm, and there's one in the back. There's this piece of black plastic on the inside that's also really hard to see, but we have to get that out, or at least move it. So last time, also, see this wire? I moved this wire last time on the other door, and it was kind of a pain, so I actually don't think you need to move it, because I'm going to show you a trick on the outside. But what we're going to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to remove this top screw on the door, this one on the bottom. This kind of loosens up that black piece. And then we'll see if I can show you working on the inside on the screws. But that's where we're headed. Take those screws, move this black piece a little bit, and then get those two 8mm screws off, and your handle will come out. So be careful it doesn't fall. Put a little piece of tape underneath it. So there's a gap. And I know if I dropped that, it was going to the bottom, like the Titanic. So I put a little piece of tape there. When I got to the end, just kind of pulled off my fingers and came off just fine. All right, that was this. I can't believe I did the other side by myself. So my daughter actually had to stay here and hold the handle in, which I had to do last time. But something that she did this time was she pulled the trigger, and it opened up space for my ratchet on the inside, which was really helpful. Anyway, now we're gonna. Oh, look! See this? See, it's falling apart. It's just super brittle. So that's what we're here to replace. So I'm going to show you, just kind of gotta, I wish I knew exactly how this thing comes out, but it just kind of works its way out. Oh, see, look, yeah, here it keeps just breaking. Okay. There you go, just kind of gotta work it out. Can you hold that for a second? All right, so here's the trick that I learned. I need my little screwdriver. There's a little screw here. We're going to take this screw out, and there's going to be a little pin that holds the wire. Okay. I'll put that again in our dish so we don't lose it. So here was the trick, because the gasket can't slip over, so you have to take the wire off. Okay, so then it pops off. Okay, that's the secret to getting the new one on. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get in here. I'm going to clean out some of this debris. I'm just going to clean out some of the junk, and then I'm going to lay the new gasket in. Here's the front old one. Oh, look at it. It's just literally falling apart. So anyway, it's a good thing we're in here. Anyway, I'm going to clean that up, and then we'll show kind of putting everything back together. We'll clean up the door. Oh, let me show you this piece too. This is what I took out of the inside of the door, where those two screws here and here. Removed it, and that allowed me to get in there and get that back screw, which can be a little tight. It was a little tough. It takes a little longer. Second hands help. So, all right, so you can see we've kind of cleaned up around the handle, just cleaned up the debris. My daughter did that one. It looks really good. We're going to put the gaskets on now. So the front one, very simply, slides on just like that. It's just going to go over the top. So this the bump will go upward. Just slip it over. And again, this is why you have to take that wire off. So this piece, again, comes around over the top. All right, hear that click. Back on the top. That's back on. Now we're going to carefully work this back in. The nice thing about this, it does tend to kind of go back into its place with the locking mechanism fairly easily. Okay, so what we're going to do now is going on the back side. I'm going to do backwards. I'm going to put those two bolts on, kind of in the back and the front, and then I'm going to reinstall this. Well, maybe I'll show you some steps along the way, but that's kind of really the gist of it. Door, put those two screws back in to hold the black piece on the inside. The handle's back on. We've got our new gaskets, and then put the door card back in, and we'll show you when it's probably show you next when it's finished up, because we're just working backwards at this point. All right, guys and gals, thanks for watching. Just show you the door opening. Kind of a little more tension there now. Past a little, there we go, and then a little bit farther. Look at that. It's almost like it's how it's supposed to function. Got our new seals on. Everything looks great. It's a little stiffer closed, but anyway, that's the project. I hope you found it useful. I'm trying to do some other projects in the future that I think will be helpful to you. And maybe we'll just step back and show you the car a little bit.